Yo, New Jersey's Franklin Lakes Library kicked out actress Jacqueline Loretta's 8-year-old autistic son for non-contextual vocals and tapping. The British Film Institute movie theater kicked out 25-year-old London woman with Asperger's, Tamsin Parker, on her birthday for laughing too much. Someone shouted that she was retarded, and several audience members applauded as she left. Amanda Payeth, a young woman with autism from Connecticut, was left out of her yearbook by Mark T. Sheham High School. A mother and her autistic son were kicked out of the Aladdin Playhouse in Chicago, Illinois. Abby Bartell, who struggled with personality and emotional issues, committed suicide after being shut out of graduation from Milton Hershey Boarding School in Pennsylvania. On the Truther blog, numerous women complained that their autistic sons repeatedly got kicked out of schools, including a 17-year-old who never had any friends. Brian Ferguson, a 20-year-old autistic man, was taking special needs classes at Navarro College in Waxahachie, Texas. He mistakenly hugged a woman he thought he knew and kissed the top of her head. The school labeled it a sexual assault and declared that he was permanently expelled. United Airlines kicked the Beagle family from Oregon off an airplane because of their autistic daughter, Julie, at 15. Autistic girl Maggie Claytes was kicked out of a Wisconsin Girl Scout troop, even though it was for girls with special needs. Autistic boy Jerry Hanley was kicked out of a Kentucky Boy Scout troop because of quote-unquote likely abnormal behaviors. Gail Martin and her daughters sat down to eat at the Buckhead Cafe in Jackson, South Carolina. After her autistic 4-year-old began crying, police chief Dennis Rushton bellowed from clear across the restaurant that they had to leave. Joseph Weber, a speech-impaired autistic man, was shot and killed by Hays, Kansas police after he panicked and fled from a traffic stop. He was unarmed and had no criminal record. Marksville, Louisiana policemen Derek Stafford and Norris Greenhouse, both black, pulled over fugitive Christopher Few. They then riddled the car with bullets, wounding Mr. Few, but killing his 6-year-old autistic son Jeremy, whom they shot more than his father. They later claimed self-defense and that Few used his car to ram them, but this supposed event did not appear on their camcorders. This concludes the personal accounts. Here's what you should know about them. 1. All the aforementioned people who suffered persecution were white. 2. Each case merely represents hundreds of similar cases. 3. People contradict themselves by complaining about the unusual noises of those with mental impairment while making or tolerating common noises which are louder. 4. Persecution doesn't stop for older people, it just becomes different, such as making you feel unwelcome, making petty complaints about you while ignoring the faults and violations of others, preventing you from having a decent job, and women's complete rejection of autistic or similarly handicapped men for any romantic or intimate connections. Now here's advice for regular people on how to deal with autistic or similarly handicapped people. 1. Autism and other such conditions are not mental illness. An illness is something that either can be cured with medicine, goes away by itself, or kills the person. It is a dishonest term invented by the psych community to make money. We are born with these conditions which cannot go away. 2. Most of the aggression or threatening behavior of autistic people, especially adults, is no doubt caused by people regularly antagonizing us or treating us unfairly. When you think badly about someone beforehand, you create a self-fulfilled prophecy. 3. You must learn to treat others as you want to be treated. For an excellent example, see the YouTube video, Autistic Teen Interrupts Church Service, watch pastor's response. Wow! And for those with special needs, you may need learn how they might feel, as treating them just like yourself may be wrong for their personal situation. And if you refuse all the aforementioned advice, you're welcome to... Now, my advice for those with autism or another condition that causes social problems. 1. Nothing will ever change unless we band together in groups and wage tireless public campaigns to be treated fairly. Although homosexual behavior is against my religion, we can learn much from gays since they were about 1% of the population or less, and autistics now around 1%. Their aggressive strategy always, they were like the most hated people of anybody, and people were repulsed by it completely. But their aggressive strategy always involved identifying themselves, and their tactics included threats of violence. This created radical change in society's perception of them. And now look where they're at now. 2, if an organized movement is unavailable at present, we should still identify who we are. It cannot hurt and may produce sympathy and understanding. After being stuck in low-paying, unfulfilling, dirty, and dangerous jobs with minimal pay, along with conflicts with other employees, I applied for disability, got it no problem, and now have the free time to make these videos. 3, with things as they are now, those who are mistreated or unappreciated should withdraw from society for the most part. Some completely, some halfway, it depends on the individual. Don't believe the nonsense that isolating yourself for the most part is unhealthy, may be needed. A lone lamb would not be better off among a wolf pack. A lone eagle would not be better off on a turkey farm. Outside of going to church on Sunday, I stay by myself, my favorite person. Most of my time is spent on the internet. If I encounter friendly people through it, fine. If they're distasteful, I click a button and they go away, and vice versa. Finally, the world's standard doesn't count, God's standard does. Quoting Philippians 3:8, I count all things lost for the excellency of the knowledge of Christ Jesus my Lord, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I may win Christ. Take care.